Okay, afternoon, folks. My name's Sean Hall, for those that don't know me, from the West Midlands Combined Authority. Thanks for taking time out this afternoon for what should be a short but very succinct and hopefully very positive message that we want to give to the construction sector today. As you'll see on the screen, we have a couple of dignitary VIPs in our mix. So that is welcome from Andy in person. What I want to do today is just remind everybody that we are going to record the session because we want to use some of the sound bites from it for future marketing, promotion and support of the Jobs Club. If you aren't going to be speaking, can I just ask you nice and politely to put yourself on mute so there's no background noise that comes through. And without further ado, I'll probably kick off and set the scene. So we've invited a very select audience for today, so I'm glad that you've took the time out. It's very much appreciated in terms of the business that we have in the sector and the message we want to start to put across to you through this joint partnership with RMF on a Jobs Club. The question that most people have asked me since they had the invite is, what is it that the Combined Authority are trying to do and trying to achieve from what is a very busy market at this moment in time? It's nice and simple. We're trying to respond to what you as host employers are telling us. At the same time, we're trying to respond to what our stakeholder partners for our regional clientele, both for you and residents, is telling us, and what residents direct are telling us at this moment in time. The world is better in the West Midlands, and hopefully you'll hear from Andy on how good it is at this moment in time. But it's nowhere near where it needs to be currently. We've still got a few challenges, and some of those are what you've been telling me personally about. We haven't got enough people coming forward to fill the vacancies we've got. As a result, you said, and we did. So the we did starts today with a soft launch and with a full formal launch at the beginning of October, where the Jobs Club will go live in the public domain proper. The Jobs Club will look to address those challenges you've got around finding young people and older people to fill vacancies. The challenge that the Jobs Club will set about providing a solution for will be to make sure that people and our residents understand the jobs that you have on offer, where you have those available to them, and how to go about filling those vacancies with you. We accept there will be challenges. Some of those will be around the skills agenda, and we'll have to work hard with our regional providers and partners to put in place the skills that you need to fill those vacancies and to deliver those projects. But we're not trying to take away all the good work that you are doing in isolation or collectively. We want to facilitate a bit of a collective effort to take on board the good practice that's out there. So using the work that CITB, Seeker and the CPA produce for us as research and support for the sector, what you as individual host employers do to provide an increased and very successful social value return in terms of providing jobs for local people. And at the same time, the innovation that exists across the sector. Suggestions are mobile community units that we've already got in train, open doors principle that it provides opportunities for individuals to see projects. But what we need and have to do for local residents is to make that more regular. So the Jobs Club will be responding on a monthly basis to that. And in terms of corporate sponsor partners, we need to make sure that colleagues in DWP, colleagues in the National Careers Service, colleagues in the third sector organisations have an absolute up-to-date position in terms of the jobs that you have in your individual websites that you promote, but collectively pulling those together. The challenges that we have around the skills that people will need to equip themselves with to achieve those jobs. So using colleges at the forefront of it, and where the colleges can't respond directly, using independent specialist providers through our adult education budget framework to deliver those skills. So again, what's successful is your workforce plans, and it's good to know and see Shilpi and Rita, specifically Lend-Lease and BBV, who provide those workforce plans to us to allow our provider network to be able to respond, to put in place training that's roll on, roll off for specialist skills that are required. So that is it from me in terms of what we're here today to achieve. I need to hand over now to our Metro Mayor, Andy Street, in terms of better understanding what those challenges are going to look like over the next 5 years in construction through your projects. So Andy, if I can welcome you today.
With pleasure, Sean, but I'm chuckling to myself because I suspect most people on the line know far more about the challenges in the construction industry than I do. But let me try to give you a little synopsis as I see it, actually. And I hope that the presentation bit of this will all be quite quick, because actually I'd like to have plenty of time for discussion and questions at the end of it, so we can draw on some of the collective experience on the line, actually. But the principal point of today is really to thank you for your commitment to this Jobs Club, which obviously RMF Construction are co-hosting with us. And it's brilliant to have so many of the region's leading construction and development companies alongside us for this. I should, before I go any further, just say a big thank you for what the industry's done, I'll say pre-pandemic, because actually I think we were doing a pretty good job in terms of the stats were very clear. Construction was the fastest growing sector in the West Midlands, and actually the skills element of it, some great partnerships had occurred, and hopefully there's a feeling that the WMCA alongside CITB had actually put some really good provision in place, actually, that a number of you, for example, Lend-Lease, have worked brilliantly with us at one or two facilities, a number of others of you. So thank you for what we did in the past. But I'm very conscious that we're in a different situation post-pandemic as we try to bounce back. And what I want to try to think a bit today is about that difference and how we'll approach it. So just the numbers first of all. I think you'll all be interested in this. The region took an absolute hammering through the pandemic, as we know. The actual hardest number of all is the increase in the claimant count in the West Midlands across the 7 metropolitan councils was 83,000. And we do know that we were the worst affected in the country. No surprise, given the mix of the economy, it was all as predicted, but also we've got to see a rapid bounce back. Now, the encouraging factor is that if you see that, take that 83,000, that number has come down by 18,000 in the last 4 months data. So since the worst, the highest number was actually in March, that 83,000 number year-on-year movement. And as I say, we've made 18,000 progress, but I am very conscious that that's a bit, I've set a target of 100,000 new jobs over 2 years. So there's one hell of a long way to go. But of course, we've got an incredibly ironic situation, you might almost describe it as, that we've seen the vacancy number increase much more rapidly than the reduction in the claimant count. So actually, as is being reported nationally, and the West Midlands is no different, we've almost got a record number of vacancies and more than before the pandemic. But in terms of actually getting people into role, we've been having less success than we might have thought. And there's all this stuff which is slightly anecdotal about people making different life choices after the pandemic than before. So I'm sure that all of you are facing shortages in some skills, whilst at the same time we've got this substantial increase in claimants. And that's the very sort of uncomfortable piece. Just should say before we go any further, I know DWP are acutely aware of that, and as they get back to normal arrangements, they will of course be trying to address that. But the real question then becomes, so what have we got to do to better match the skills that you need with the talent that there is out there but not yet engaged in the workforce? And that's what this Jobs Club is all about. Just one last thought on the numbers. I'm very conscious that we're 1 month away from the end of furlough. And just to give you again the numbers broadly, we've got about 60,000 people in the 7 Mets still on furlough. So obviously that is a vast number. If I said the increase in claimants was about 83,000 over the period, you can see that the risk we have if those on furlough do not either go back into their work and falling out of work at that time. So that just gives you the feelings of the numbers. So what I think is different about this Jobs Club, because obviously we're going to be continuing with all the training programs that we've got in place, and call out for all our colleges, some of whom are on the call, and you'll have seen the stuff we're doing around short, sharp sector-based work academies, as we call them, there to get relevant skills there, and indeed some of the more long-term programs we've done with our colleges. So call out there. But what this Jobs Club is really all about is getting a much better understanding for our residents of really what these different careers in construction are all about, to try to match that gap between what the experience is and what perhaps the aspirations of people are, and to get people to see that there really is an incredible career in construction for them. So I hope what we're going to hear as this develops is real experience stories of what this is like. Now, in terms of predicting forward, in terms of how do I think the sector is going to bounce back and what's ahead. So I'm actually extremely optimistic, because if you look at the key components of the construction sector, I think we can be really very bullish. So, of course, let's just deal with public funded projects first of all. Even though I'm acutely aware that it's the private sector that drives the economy ultimately, there is definitely, as we come out of the pandemic, a role for the public sector to pump prime. And actually, we already see incredible public funded projects in the region. The mummy and daddy of them all being HS2. Lots of you on the call are right at the heart of that, and we know that many more people are going to need to be recruited for HS2 as it gets to full throttle over the next few years. And we all know the uncertainty about the eastern leg, but let's be absolutely clear, the commitment to the first leg is resolute, and I'm sure that the government will confirm the western leg in the rail review that is coming up. So that's a real point of certainty for us. We're also trying to make sure across other public organisations in the region that the commitment to infrastructure continues. So we've got a number of live projects at the moment. I know they're relatively small by some standards, but the Commonwealth Games projects, of course, the transport projects around University Station, Perry Bar, the Metro, our sprint routes, all of those. And we are expecting to get further investment from the government through what's called the City Regional Sustainable Transport Fund to stimulate that even further. Probably more important, though, is how I read the private sector, and perhaps the most encouraging piece of news I would give you there is the pipeline of inward investment inquiries, all of which end up with a construction sector project, is fuller than it was pre-pandemic. So actually the whole sort of adjustment to Brexit, and indeed then looking at the fundamentals as to why a company might locate in the West Midlands, are looking really positive, and we are expecting that to move forward well. The housing sector, as you know, was very buoyant pre-pandemic, has got even more buoyant. And if you look at the approvals that have come forward, particularly in Birmingham, but increasingly in other cities, that's also very buoyant and playing our role. We've got a number of you are involved in a number of our brownfield schemes. And I know John McAuliffe is on the line, for example, in terms of remediation. We've got a number of schemes we're expecting to bring to the market very soon. So that's also looking pretty buoyant. And then in terms of the commercial sector, obviously the whole logistics sector is absolutely on fire. We see no reason why that should change, but we've got to be realistic both about the commercial office sector and indeed the retail sector, where we know that's incredibly difficult. But putting all that together, I hope you will share my optimism for where the sector will move to, and indeed my certainty that in this region we can demonstrate great teamwork between the contractors, the different public organisations, whether they be city councils, whether they be the combined authority, and indeed each of you as individual organisations. So Sean, that's the backdrop as I see it, and most importantly, I think there will be an absolute need for us to step forward with this storytelling, really, of lives in construction careers, and then put in the practical measures about the matching there and the training provision that's required.
No, thanks, Andy, and I think it's a thanks from myself and Andy to all of the contractors involved in the specific projects, those station redevelopments and the sprint bus route metro extension, because that's obviously absolutely pivotal for us moving forward in terms of that infrastructure improvements that you're working on now. So thanks for that. So at this point, Stuart, I'll probably come over to the RMF team in Birmingham and just get this overview of the Fresh Start programme that we underpin in the Jobs Club around.
Yep, no problems at all. I'll just pull up the presentation.
And I'll just take the opportunity when the presentation's coming through to make sure that any questions that you've got, please place them in the chat and we'll try and cover as many as possible at the end. If we don't get to your question, then by all means, we'll send that on further after today's session. Olivia, how we fix with the presentation?
So Stuart was going to be sharing the presentation, but
Just,
back the slide if you want to.
2 seconds, just pulling
Yep.
that back up.
That's great.
Okay, I'll start to talk anyway. Obviously, the PowerPoint is just going to be shared with you shortly. So I suppose kind of what is Fresh Start? So Fresh Start exists to support and complement kind of existing job platforms within the markets, but also, and what is the main difference with it is that it provides a full wraparound service to actually give candidates the support that they need to become kind of job ready and ready to go into employment, to meet the needs of our clients and obviously the contractors, many of who are on the call today. From some of the issues that we've seen across the board, and as Andy could have touched on then, one of the issues is finding the kind of access and visibility of kind of clients and candidates to see the jobs on the market. So how can we make that easier to be able to provide an easy access and entry for candidates to come through into the civils and construction industry? Okay. Okay, so how are we going to achieve this and kind of why is kind of Fresh Start needed? From the feedback from our clients is that a lot of kind of jobs are being posted out there and the kind of applications aren't coming through. So how can they then gain access to the candidates that are being trained through, I suppose, kind of funding from the government and West Midlands Combined Authority? And from candidates, a lot of the information that we see is that they don't understand, I suppose, kind of how to access through to the jobs, and also they don't always have the skill set to actually apply, go through the application process, or are there any other barriers that are in place that can actually stop them gaining employment? What kind of Fresh Start will try and address are those barriers to make sure that by the time that they come through to contractors and clients in the West Midlands Combined Authority, that they are kind of job ready and have the right skills, approach and understanding of what it takes to go into the constructions and civils market. Okay, so how will this work? It will work by kind of increasing the engagement with the contractors, ensuring that we have the best understanding of what is needed for people to go and work within the industry. What is the skill set for the programme of works out there? I suppose that's just a technical element of this. One of the main things with this as well is understanding what is kind of needed with regards to kind of attitudes, expectations, kind of the values of our clients, to ensure that when people gain employment as well, how are they able to sustain that? What we will do with the kind of contractors from the engagement side of things is make sure that we kind of understand the needs at every stage of the programme, and therefore we can feed that back through to all of the colleges, the training providers, to ensure that the training programmes that are being provided are actually fit for purpose to create candidates that are ready to go in and meet the demands of the various projects across the board. Now, I suppose kind of the Fresh Start thing, Fresh Start way, and the thing we're trying to aim at is to understand what are the kind of barriers for candidates going into employment, and then be able to provide support that's not from a technical point of view to ensure to start work, be kind of job ready, and kind of have a successful implementation into the construction industry. Whether that be to look at their kind of tenancy, do they have issues with kind of transport? How do we need to engage with them to make sure that by day one that they actually can have the skills, the confidence to start within the industry too? Now, the way we would do that with a kind of an engagement team, the kind of Fresh Start team, who from day one of the kind of training programme, they will engage with the candidates, make sure that they have the values and understandings that has been passed on from the contractors, that they understand to be kind of on time, understand about health and safety, but then understand the various aspects of what they need to be successful and go through the program. So we'll then just move on to kind of the Fresh Start video, just to give highlights of the kind of the portal and understand that element of it too.
Welcome to Fresh Start. Fresh Start is labour supply with a difference. Candidates will sign up and complete their profile, including characteristics, qualifications and competences, which are used to match them with relevant jobs. Clients can upload their job requests, including the qualifications required for the role, the duration of the role, as well as its location with the ability to review applicants. Clients will receive tailored reports to reflect specific key performance indicators on the labour they employ, which can be used to support social value proposals in the tendering process.
Hey, I'm Russ Ruffino.
So obviously that's the Fresh Start portal. Now, how we would engage with the kind of contractors and also the candidates is with from the contractor point of view and the client point of view, is they understand that any of the live vacancies they can signpost through to the Fresh Start portal. That will then be then visible to all of the candidates that come through the training programs. But from day one, we will get the candidates to upload their details onto the portals, and then as they're tracking through, gain the relevant qualifications and the additional support, the wraparound service that's needed. By the time they get to the end of that journey, all of the available opportunities with the various contractors and clients that are engaging with the Fresh Start programme will be visible to all of the candidates. Our engagement team, the Fresh Start team, can then talk them through the process, make sure they're applying for the jobs, and therefore we can increase or tackle the problem of the visibility and the access to employment opportunities within the market. What we can also do then with the Fresh Start programme and Fresh Start software is then start to track what kind of social and corporate responsibility and social value we're adding within the West Midlands. So we'll be able to track kind of the backgrounds and what kind of diverse range and people we're reaching out to, the harder to reach in society. And we can actually see the benefits of the training programs and then going through to showing the benefits to the contractors with actually the delivery of candidates that are job ready and have the right skill set ready to work in their jobs. And that's it. Fresh Start as an overview. Apologies for the slight glitches, but obviously open to take any questions.
Much appreciate that, Stuart. I think it gives an initial oversight in terms of what additional support we want to offer local residents, and at the same time offer employers in terms of access to that level of information and client base. So I suppose at this time it's neatly come over to Rita, really, just to maybe just ask maybe one or two questions just about the change you've seen in the communities and how you've had to better engage with them in terms of the challenges that the pandemic's brought forward. So have you seen a difference in terms of how you would access your recruits at the moment?
Yeah, I think the first thing to say is that we've probably been privileged at Perry Barr to have access to the Fresh Start programme to work through the pandemic, really. And 75% of our workforce has been local, and 58% of those live within 10 miles of the site. And I think that's been a real testament to the fact that the Fresh Start programme and RMF were able to continue throughout the pandemic and support us. So we were able to keep the Perry Barr site going. And to be fair, we only had a very short stoppage of time. But the fact that we were able to have local employment meant that we could keep the site going. So those issues that the pandemic caused around transport and people using public transport to get to work were probably alleviated because we had a local workforce. So then that's really important to say. And then the other thing is the fact that it's about accessibility for us as employers to be able to reach local people and reach local communities. So having the opportunity to have the training facility on site and having RMF there to deliver the training. So when we're having local communities come onto site, they're able to train on a live workforce, on a live construction site, sorry. So that means that we as employers can really sort of work with the community and communicate those live opportunities. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to continue to do that, and where employers can take the responsibility to say what we really need, and then have Fresh Start to really support us to make sure that message is then conveyed or, if you like, translated into the workforce that they provide for us.
Excellent. No, and I think it's a good opportunity where other contractors can engage across what would have been a competitor market. Rita's always been keen to showcase the training facility that exists at the Perry Bar site, which will move to Smithfield in terms of the inner city Birmingham development that Lend-Lease will move on to next. So I suppose if I pick Tom Hughes from Murphy Group next, Tom, I think part of what we want to do with the Jobs Club is better promote what we've got available across our region through the different contracts and projects that exist. We know our people at the moment aren't quite as mobile, and we'll probably have that for the next 12 months in terms of wanting to expose to local residents and local unemployed people projects that you are involved in across the whole of the region, from Wolverhampton maybe down to sort of Solihull and Coventry. Are you happy that we can use the Jobs Club to better promote the project by videoing, interviewing you and your colleagues and your employees on site, so that we can take that out to the region and its residents in the region?
Yeah, definitely. The portal looks really good. It's a great way for us to actually jump on there and have a look. And myself and Pat have requirements coming up on a weekly basis, whether that could be for short-term holiday cover or for a long-range job that we need to recruit for. The portal, as I say, looks very good. The beauty of RMF, as well as Rita said, is the fact that they've got the training school there. So we might come along and say, we could do with a couple of vehicle banksmen on a job for next Monday, and they can turn around their trainings so quickly for us that they can get actually boots on the site pretty quickly. And it's tried and tested with us with RMF as well, because we've used them over the years an awful lot, and they've really helped us out on short term stuff. But I think with the Job Club and this new portal that we're looking at, it's a way for us to actually use it as a way of recruiting rather than just use the usual job boards and LinkedIn and Facebook, that kind of stuff. It gives us a lot more information and shows us actually what the clients what the actual candidates have got training wise for us.
Excellent, Tom. And I think from the Jobs Club as well, this will be where we'll try and innovate. So the Combined Authority, with your support, will try and innovate how we better connect with those recruits for the future. So we have now embarked on a TikTok marketing campaign in terms of engaging young people on a platform they're familiar with, also Instagram. At the same time, we want to use the YouTube channels in terms of making sure this is a visibility that people can see and watch and be interested in terms of what the information we're pushing out there is. We want to replicate what Open Doors does on a once a year basis through the support of CITV, but make that a monthly event that people would actually engage with at the start of each month and be interested in tagging into. We want our providers to be able to make sure that the offer that they've got for the skills training through the adult education budget is popular and interesting to people and accessible at the same time. But at the same time, we want your help in terms of providing us with innovation around how you engage with communities in your own organisations and how we can better amplify that from the perspective of our Metro Mayor, being out in society, talking to chief exec councillors, talking to population, talking to the media. We want to showcase the sector, and we want to use Andy in terms of making sure that we continue to showcase the sector on a monthly basis, so people know that we're going to be talking about stories at the first week of every month moving forward in this sector. and we don't want you to feel alone in terms of the recruitment challenges that you're going to face. So I suppose this is the opportunity where you've got Andy today. You know, you can ask me a question any particular day at any time, but Andy's only around at certain slots. So if there are any specific questions that people have got, then by all means use the opportunity we've got today.
Or thoughts. Doesn't just have to be a question, and then you want to sort of impress upon me. Clearly not, Sean.
Well, how about I give you one, Andy? So,
if you wish, and this hasn't been choreographed. This
hasn't been choreographed, so hopefully it's okay. It's close to home for us. The metro extension, your ambition going forward, is it something that you think it'll dissipate and slow down over the next couple of years, or have you got an ambition to carry that momentum going?
Let me broaden the question a bit, because I talked in a riddle earlier on about a particular thing, but I want to try to explain it to you because I think you'll all be very encouraged by this. So the answer to the question is we've got to accelerate what we're doing. We've already got 5 pieces of work on the metro, and some of your organisations are doing some of it actually through MMA. So obviously the big extension is the Black Country line. That's about £400 million worth of work. Then, of course, there's the small extension, Wolverhampton station. And actually, I know Galliford Try, with the contractor for the station, are on the call. So thank you for what you've done there. Then, of course, we've started on East Side through Digbeth, and we've got, of course, the West Side extension out to Edgbaston. And the last piece of work is obviously the remedial work in Corporation Street. So 5 contracts currently for the metro. But the big thing that's on the horizon, and you'll hear more about this, not just in the West Midlands, but the government has now confirmed funding for combined authorities, and it's a very unsexy title, but they call it the City Region Sustainable Transport Fund. And what that is about £4 billion that is going to be devolved actually from central government to the mayoral combined authorities around the country. We each have to bid in for that. We will, I don't know for certain, but we will probably get about £1 billion, and that will then fund transport projects over the coming few years. And that will be everything from further extension to the metro, to some of our station reopening programmes, but they are actually the ones that are currently agreed are separately funded, by the way, and we're going out to tender on a couple of those very shortly. But indeed, public realm works in some areas, some road schemes, some cycling schemes, but there will be a considerable sum of cash from central government to each of the combined authorities, and that will then give certainty over the public transport investments over the coming years. And it's what we've been asking for some time, which is please give us one pot of money that has got some durability to it, rather than a stop-start and putting bids in for individual small elements of funding. So I consider it good news, and yes, Sean, it will allow us to be ambitious going forward.
Fabulous, Andy. Rita, I think you put your hand up first. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I suppose a question for Andy and for RMF really is, what would you like from us as employers to support your job club? What would you like us to do?
Be really precise about what vacancies you've got and what skills you are looking for within those vacancies. Some might be obvious by the title, some will be much more about attitude and training opportunities, and to put them into the pot, basically.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think for us, Rita, thanks very much for the question, it opening up the opportunities. But I know there's been a huge focus around RMF on this. We've been a part of it from the start. But I think this goes beyond RMF. As we said, we've got a lot of colleges and so forth on it. And people have to think big in relation, whether it's going to be open up your opportunities, that would be third level education coming through, to kickstart programs, to whatever other initiative. That we want to use this platform to promote everything that's going on in the West Midlands, not just RMF. So, you know, I know we have Solihull, who's been a major part of the growth of our company on today. And we wanted to benefit the college students, to the long-term unemployed, and to everybody else. And I think all of us working, as it says, as a combined authority, as a combined group, we can really make a positive impact and a source of employment to all major projects in the West Midlands Combined Authority area.
I think coupling up with that as well, it's that's one element, but also the opening up the supply chain. Obviously, you're very large organisations yourself, but how can the candidates that we're training get access to your subcontractors and move down the chain so that this the platform or however we're reaching out, they get access to all levels of contractors as well? That would really help.
Okay,
Brilliant, thank you.
Thanks very much. Yeah. Tom Raitt, I think you came up next with your hand.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Firstly, thanks for the invite. My colleague Maddie, that Rita and the RFM guys know, normally kind of heads this piece up. I was really intrigued to get involved, as Rita knows, to see what carers can do and expose ourselves to this. I'm very excited about this fresh start. How do I, as an employer, access that fresh start? Because having that access to that pool you kind of alluded to on the video, guys, is influential to us. We are really struggling with labour market at the minute. It's a real it's a buyer's market. It's a tough place to get guys. I'm a big fan of there are people, everyone deserves a second opportunity out there. So really for me is, how do I get into the fresh start, to the RMF and to you guys, Sean and Andy? How do I as an employee get stuck into that now? Because we need it yesterday. So I want that kind of real, how do I get access to this pool so quickly?
Yeah, so following the call today, we'll send out a post meeting pack. That'll give you the opportunity to engage directly with the RMF team. It would be remiss of me not to pull you up on it, a little bit of a terminology, because Andy's here. You can employ guys and girls in terms of this sector, and we're always keen to include, always keen to include all parts of our communities and all genders. And equally, we've seen a number of females move into the sector. Specifically, I think colleagues from BBV on here today with a move in terms of women construction. We've ran women in construction programs at Lend-Lease and with other contractors before. So after today, you will be given the contact details to better engage. And then going forward, yes, we will accommodate access to as many projects as you're working on to publicise and showcase them. And in terms of the talent pool, we've been making this a monthly education piece that will go out to Job Centre DWP and to the National Careers Service, so their work coaches can engage with people on a monthly basis, so that they're as up to date as we possibly can be based on your workforce and workforce plans.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate that. And again, I'll link back with the RMF guys. And
I think, Tom, as well, projects have peaks and troughs and requirements. You know, from discussions with yourself, you have a big requirement coming January. There's no issue at all that we would give careys the centre stage come November, so we can really push to have the candidates ready for January. So as companies go through, we'll focus on the here and now requirements, and it would be an awful lot better coming from yourself than looking at it just an advertisement. So that's why we really want to have an interactive jobs club where it's not just signposts and words, but it's someone like yourself coming on and saying, I need you. I need you to be this person. How can I be this person? We go on a West Midlands Combined Authority funded programme, you know, and we do smart advertisement and smart training, which will massively increase the employment outcomes. But, you know, that'll be up to you to give us the information of when you need to be showcased on that project.
I look forward to that link, Sean, and like I say, we'll work with you and the other partners, I suppose, to ensure that we give it all the support, because demand for us, you having the pool, it works. It's just ready to go. I just could do with it yesterday, like I say. But thanks.
It's a great thing, Tom. It's live now, so delighted to speak about any opportunities.
Thank you again, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
No, cheers, Tom. Andy, just conscious of time, so if I bring Dawn in, and then we'll probably look to try and do a wrapping up in terms of the key messages from today. So Dawn, if you want to ask your question, please.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, Stuart covered it. So I was very fortunate to come and meet Stuart and Dara and Matt the other week on Rita's fabulous facilities across the road from our tiny little place. But it was just to say that we, you know, what I'd like to do maybe is via our subcontractor route. So how can we make that work? And, you know, maybe we could do, I don't know, a breakfast morning with them, or we could do something when we send out information to people that we use as subcontractors, because, you know, we don't necessarily have a huge amount of people depending on the site that we're working on. But certainly I would like to give them access to all of our aligned suppliers. And I have a meeting coming up, funny enough, with our commercial director, to talk about supply chain and what we do with regard to social value and how we take that forward with them and get their engagement as well. So I'm looking forward to picking that up with Stuart as time goes on.
Okay, no, thanks for that, Dawn. Andy, should we be polite and let Marie Wilkes put her question in, then we'll close the questions?
Of course.
Thank you, Sean. I just wanted to add to what Dawn said. So I'm Wilmot Dixon and we're working on the Paribas regeneration, and we opened our supply chain up to RMF. We had a lunchtime meeting. We invited all our supply chain partners to attend, and then I passed the floor over to Dara and he introduced himself, and then they just engaged directly with RMF. It's working brilliantly. We've had loads of over 100 local employment opportunities on the project since we started. So it really is a good idea to engage your supply chain, and it's easy to do. Thank you, Sean.
No, thanks, Marie. That's much appreciated. And this again, Andy, is unscripted. So people saying good things about what we're doing isn't intentional, but actually it's not bad to hear on occasions, because we've got people who've come on a long journey with us, and equally people who are just starting a journey with us. So hopefully you can be encouraged by your competitor colleagues here, and equally they could hold the possession of your workforce moving forward as people progress through different role types and different organisations in different projects. So in terms of summing up today, I suppose our asks were, please come with us on this journey. It will be tough at times. We know that we've got the jobless figures that Andy's talked about to improve. We know that we've got jobs to fill in your specific organisations on specific projects that we're showcasing, and it's not easy at this moment in time. People have put that across. So as a result, we're having to innovate. Whether we have all the innovation on the table at this moment in time, I'd probably say no. And I'd say no because you're going to provide us with more innovation to move us forward. So when we need to engage with communities in a different way, yes, tell us how we would like to do that, and we will make that happen for you and with you. Where we need to better improve the services that we've got from DRP, NCS and other third sector partners to bring forward individuals who are unemployed and feel furthest away from the job market or furthest away from the sector, then use us to help do that. Myself and Andy are really keen to come and visit you on your project sites to record sessions, interviewing people and play that to the media so they can put that out on our press, our radio and our TV screens. Because again, if we want people to step forward, we've got to be quite bullish in terms of what we want to do for this sector, because at the moment, I'd say the logistics sector are probably leading that way in terms of making it known that we're a shortage of lorry drivers, because that's going to affect Christmas and the supermarkets that we shop in. So again, we need to be playing. We need to be playing with the other sectors in terms of promoting what we have available, and we need to make it understood by the residents that would engage with this part of the sector and the communities they come from and the projects we got available. So we will try and do things differently. We might always, we hope to get it right every time. Sometimes it will be different, and it will be a bit difficult for us to get that message across to people to buy into this. But hopefully once a month, as a one-stop shop, advertising as many projects as we possibly can, and many positions as we can, for as many people as we can, is probably the right way forward for me at this moment in time. However, if you think I could do things differently, please let me know and I'll adapt, because I don't get it right all of the time. So hopefully today has been useful. Hopefully the time that you've had with Andy today has been useful in terms of a £1 billion investment, Andy, that you've put across to people, which should be
not committed yet, but I am optimistic. I have to persuade someone. There's a competition with the other areas of the country.
Well, we've recorded the session today, Andy, so we might have to do a little bit of editing post this.
No, it's a competition. I'm optimistic. You've got to be optimistic. Good. But can I just say one last sentence, because I think it's important. We've heard some brilliant stories today from Wilmot Dixon, from others, but I really want Sean's last point to be heard. we don't know what all the answers are here. This is here for you to shape, and it will be much, much better if you do shape it rather than rely on the public service to do it. That won't work. So please, I want this to be the sort of kickoff, and you to but we are there to help you in your recruitment as we emerge and try to tackle those big numbers. But please, if you think we're missing the mark, shunt it another way. I want to hear that through Sean, because he's there to serve the sector basically.
Definitely. No, I appreciate that. And I can absolutely reinforce that Andy always wants to make sure that any solutions we drive forward at the Combined Authority operational side are backed by employers and telling us this is the way that you would like to drive the sector, the region, your project. So yeah, I can endorse that. So I think without further ado, I think I have to thank our partners at RMF Construction. I think it's a fantastic opportunity to bring it forward, and it's great to hear people like Tom look to positively want to move forward and progress that, and it's great to hear other organisations saying that actually it works for them and it does what it needs to do in terms of those recruitment challenges we're facing at this moment in time. So yeah, thanks everybody for attending, and yes, Andy, as ever, much appreciate your help. I know it's a busy diary and you're a very, very busy person in the region, but it's great to have you on board.
Well, thank you all for what you're doing in the recovery. Cheers for now. Bye bye.
That's great.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.